I think this person called in the show because it's the same question we got on the show. They have a 2,800 square foot home. They're looking to put hardwood floors throughout. They're going back and forth between engineered or laminate type flooring.
Okay.
They're asking about the resale value.
Okay.
If they choose one or the other.
Right. So if we're only talking about resale value, I'm almost always going to go with the engineered. And I'll tell you why. More often than not, the sound that it makes when you walk on those floors is different. And whether that sounds reasonable or not doesn't really matter, because I can tell you after selling thousands of homes that it matters to buyers, especially if your home might be vacant. Because when it's vacant, the sound of the floors, walking on the floors, echoes, and it's a bigger deal. I know this sounds really like way down the rabbit hole, but this is very real. And so an engineered floor is often just a standard, like a plywood or a standard board with a smaller layer of that true wood, the whatever you want to call it, the solid wood. Veneer or a laminate is some form of a plastic product, right? And that doesn't mean it's bad. There are unbelievably high quality laminates now that I do recommend in rare situations. If you've got large dogs that are going to really, really wear on wood floors, then I might go with a really high quality laminate. The other thing that might determine this, and this wasn't part of the question, but I'll throw it in, is the value of your home. If you're in a neighborhood of $300,000 and up, I would never put a laminate floor in there, unless you plan on living there forever and laminate's what you want because of the dogs or because of the way something else that is going to impact the wear and tear on that. But I would also add to this, was not asked, there are some hardwoods that are pretty close to the price of a good laminate, of a good engineered, right? So let me keep my phrasing correct. There's some hardwoods that aren't a whole lot more expensive than a good engineered, and there are some laminates that are even more expensive than engineered. So if I had to pick, I'd always pick hardwood. If I'm budget sensitive, I'd go with the engineered, and I would rarely go with laminate unless I had a real significant wear and tear issue, where I would go with a high-end laminate. Now, if I'm talking about, no criticism here, but a lower cost house, and budget-wise I can only get the laminate in, then go with laminate. It's a good look. They'll last a long time. But a buyer of a home that's say 250 or above, especially 300 or above, is generally gonna kind of frown upon, from a value perspective, that laminate floor. So hopefully that makes sense and covers a lot of bases.
So is that one of the first impression kind of things? You walk in that house, you hear that floating laminate floor.
By all means, the look is the most important thing, but that sound is significant. So laminate is typically floating, like you just said, which means it's on kind of a barrier. Yeah, it's a real small, kind of breathable, almost like a carpet pad type feeling thing. It's a little foam barrier, right? It's supposed to give it some wiggle and some water. It doesn't adhere specifically to the ground. Like a wood floor could be glue down or nail down. An engineered is going to be glue down or nail down. It is wood. It's just not solid wood all the way from the top to the bottom. It's like a plywood with a small layer of that hardwood. So when it's glued or nailed down, it's a solid echo as opposed to kind of that wobbly movement, plasticky sound. And then the hardwood's going to sound different than the engineered. So it's as crazy as it sounds. I want to give you the best advice I can, and believe it or not, the sound that it makes, again, especially in a vacant home, is going to communicate value. And then the wear and tear over time is going to communicate value. And then the look, of course, is going to communicate value.
I honestly never thought about that. I was thinking about all the construction, how it's made, and all that stuff.
And the truth is, the install cost has gotten to the point where it's really not that different.
Right.
The laminate's going to be about half the price, and then engineered versus hardwood is not going to be that different. And that's why I would say, if cost is close, I'd probably go for the hardwood. Even though that sounds way more expensive, if you can get a good remnant, like, there are some companies that sell like odd lots of hardwood. Now, if you're doing 2,800 square feet, you're probably going to need a lot. But there are places where if you're doing a dining room and a living room, you could go find 700 square feet of the leftovers of one type of wood and get a really good deal on that. I would do that every time.
Interesting question here. We kind of answered it in the beginning, but